Hi, I'm Lucy of Frock Vintage and Fear Me with my personal guide to shopping, wearing and selling vintage.
Vintage tends to be clothing that is from, say, the 1940s to the 1980s, but then more recently, 1990s stuff has become vintage. Vintage clothes have typically been seen as being bought by students. That's definitely when I started buying vintage clothes. It's a way of expressing yourself by not wearing what everyone else is wearing. Anyone can wear vintage, but I don't think a lot of people think they can because they think it has a certain look that you need to have, or that it's a lot of effort. Some people do live a typical vintage lifestyle. Everything that they do embodies vintage, and some people dress like 1940s gentlemen all the time. You don't have to do that. You can incorporate vintage into everyday fashion, and you can just add a bit of colour and a bit of flourish and uniqueness to your everyday wardrobe. I think one of the things that might stop people from wearing vintage clothes is that they're not always off the rack. You can just walk into Topshop or Primark and buy something and wear it straight away. And you can with a lot of vintage, but that might come with a price tag. The fit will be different because clothes maybe weren't as fitted as they are now. They come a lot of the times in bigger sizes, but they're quite often really nice fabrics, really nice prints and interesting things that can be altered to make them more modern. If you want to alter your own clothes, then you don't really need a lot to get started. There are quite a lot of alterations that can be done by hand. The best way to learn about making alterations is to see it in action. So I'm going to go to a charity shop and pick up a piece of vintage clothing and show you how I turn it into something fabulous to wear. Let's go shopping. If you're looking to buy vintage clothes, some of the places to try are obviously specialist vintage shops, though you can expect to pay a higher price in those. There are lots of vintage fairs which might have individual sellers, or you get kilo sales where you can buy clothes by the kilo, and you usually pay about £10 to £15 for those, but you might get 3 or 4 items of clothing. If you're shopping online, I'd suggest reading the descriptions thoroughly. This will tell you what clothes are made out of, and if they're a good seller they should usually give you the exact measurements. So even if something is modelled on somebody and it may have been pinned, it will actually tell you what the measurements are, and then you can compare that to your own body measurements and work out whether it's going to fit you or not. I'd also look for reviews, and that usually tells you about the quality of the items that they're selling. Charity shops are probably my favourite place to go and look for vintage. I think because of the unpredictability of them, you never know what they're going to have in. They might have a really bad selection one week, and then you can go in and they'll just have had a delivery of vintage. So these are the ones that I've chosen to buy today. I've gone for a dress and a top. They're both from the 80s, I'd say, and they're going to be really simple to modify. Charities know which shops will sell vintage well. They do tend to be in places where there are lots of students. The managers will tend to know their stuff about vintage, and my top tip would be to get to know them, and they will usually give you a heads up if they know they've got some stock coming in that you will like. Check whether they've got a presence on social media, either Facebook or Instagram usually, because they often post things and you can say if you like them, and if they're friendly then they'll keep them for you.
Okay, so now we've got our haul of vintage pieces, let's get to work with a few simple alterations.
My favourite items to work with when I'm doing alterations are definitely dresses, because you get so much fabric and you can do so much with a dress. You can make it smaller, sometimes you can take them out and make them larger, you can put a waist in easily, you can take the sleeves off and that can completely transform it sometimes. You can take the hem up. There's loads of things you can do. If you cut a dress in half, then you have a top and bottom.
So I've spent £14 on these two items of clothing, and this one was £9, this one was £5. And I picked them because I think there's quite a lot I can do with them to bring them up to date. I'm going to try them on. I already tried them on in the shop, but I'm going to try them on again and see how they fit and how I can alter them. So with this shirt, I'm going to take off the sleeves, and as you can see, it's quite big on me. I think it's a size 20, so I'm going to take it in a few inches, and I'm going to add some shaping on the bust with some darts, and I'll see how it looks after I've done that, but I might make it into a cropped style, which is quite on trend at the moment. And before I do anything, I'm going to take a picture of it. So this is the dress that I'm going to work on. It's got nice big 80s shoulder pads that I'm going to take out, which instantly transforms it. It's quite wide, but I'm not going to take it in by sewing it. I'm going to put some elastic in so that it can fit a range of sizes, because I'm actually probably going to sell this dress, so I don't want it to just fit me. It's really long, you can't see, but it goes down to my ankles. So I'm going to take that up to just above the knee. And with the sleeves this time, I'm not going to take them off, I'm just going to shorten them and reduce them a bit. Okay, so time to take a photo.
A simple alteration, like taking a hem up, could take probably less than an hour. Completely taking something apart and restructuring it could take a whole day. Don't just jump in and start cutting things. There are a couple of ways that you can try and imagine how it's going to look. One method that I use is to draw how I think it could look, and then you could reimagine it in any number of ways before you've even cut into it or started sewing. I can't draw figures to save my life, so I use one of these sketch pads which has the pre-drawn figures in view. The one I like to use is the Gertie's sewing sketchbook, because the figures are a bit more realistic and they're drawn to actual human proportions, so you can kind of imagine what the clothes are going to look like on a real person. If you've got some pencils and crayons, then you can doodle to your heart's content. I'd start with projects that require minimal sewing and that can be reversed, so something like rolling the sleeves up on a blouse just involve a bit of sewing and can be undone really easily. Always measure yourself and measure your garment, and if you're following instructions, then follow them carefully. Don't start on a family heirloom or something you really loved.
So this is the £5 blouse. I've made my alterations now, and I feel like it's still got that vintage feel to it, but I've tailored it so it's a bit more modern. This is the £9 dress. It was probably my least favourite of the two when I bought them, but actually after I've done the alterations, I really like it. Unfortunately, I can't keep everything that I buy, so this one's going to get listed in my Etsy shop. It's not going to make you six figures selling vintage clothes, but there's definitely a markup to be made if you think that you can buy
clothes for anything from £1 to £5, and actually with some modernisation potentially you could sell them for between say £15 and £25, and there is quite a good markup there, but you do have to be aware of the amount of work that goes into running a vintage business and also the alteration side of things. There are lots of costs that people don't consider to photograph things, to list them, the time it takes to go to vintage fairs and set up. It's not going to make massive returns, but if you are passionate about vintage and fashion and you love what you do, which I do, then it's kind of worthwhile.
So that's my quick look at buying, wearing and selling vintage. If you have any questions, then I'd love to hear from you. Just drop me a message. Bye for now.